Welcome to Dollars and Cents with Frugal Freddy, where we have real money talk with the human touch. Make sure you like and subscribe to get the latest episode of the podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, State Rep Dontavius Jarrells.
Come on.
What's up, man?
You always get my name wrong. I don't know why.
Do I?
Yeah,
Which
it's
part?
Jarrells.
Oh, it's Jarrells.
And you'll keep this in the podcast, too.
Yes, we will. So,
Thank you.
what did I say?
You said Jarrells. It's Jarrells.
It's
Rhymes
Jarrells?
with barrels.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
I'm
cousin.
sorry,
It's
State
all
Rep.
good. Yeah, he's my cousin, so I get to like mess with him a little bit.
So before we really get started, man, a lot of people probably don't know this.
Yeah.
We are first cousins.
Like we have the same blood running through us.
Yes.
For real.
Not play cousins. Our dads are brothers.
Yes.
We share the same grandmother.
Yes, we do.
And we met some years ago.
Yes.
Before we knew we were cousins.
100%.
You remember that?
I do. I was wearing all green.
Were you?
I was wearing it was during the Pharrell, like, you know, you had
you had your white glasses
I had the white
yeah.
glasses on with the Yeezy glasses.
Yeah, I remember
green
that.
on. Yeah, it was oof.
Yeah, that was back in your Hiram days.
Hiram days, man. I was like a sophomore.
Yeah,
Sophomore.
wow, that's some years ago.
It is.
So I remember, I went to Mount Union, Dontavius went to Hiram, and we came up for African American Student Union party or something.
Yeah, it was a party, yep.
And we took a picture together.
We did.
And we were next to each other, like didn't know that we were first cousins. And
right.
Fast forward.
You were cool.
I was all right. He was all right. He was all right.
You know
and fast forward a couple years, you was at our aunt's house, and I'm like, what are you doing here, bro?
Yeah, I know.
He was like, what's up, cuz? I'm like,
that's
okay.
a Wakanda moment.
I'm like, what's up, man? What's up? And
man.
we've been locked in ever since.
Locked in. And then you had to move to Columbus.
I had to follow you, brother.
You did. Listen, look at what we doing now.
We on a podcast. Yep. Hey, we kind of sounded like right there, man. But no, I love that about you, man. And definitely, being family and kind of seeing you maneuver in all type of arenas. So what brought you down here to Columbus?
Man, I didn't have enough money to go to law school.
That's real.
That's just the truth.
That's real.
And I didn't want my family to pay for my schooling experience. And so thinking about going to work, or I want to figure out MBA, MPA, law school, what am I wanted to do? And so out of a number of opportunities that came my way, one of them was the Legislative Service Commission Fellowship, which essentially you have about 24 students out the state that are selected to come down to Columbus and work in the State House. And I had never been to the State House before that moment. Like, I was like, where is the State House, to be quite frank with you? And so I applied, because I really wanted to get into policy. My major was political science, economics. I knew at some point I wanted to serve my community in some capacity, not really knowing what that would look like. And ultimately, I just applied, and God opened the door. That's what's up. And I learned that I had to go through 3 rounds of interviews in order to get selected. And I remember I was on my last interview, and they were like, "So what caucus do you want to be in?" And I was like, "Well," he's like, "Do you want to be in a majority caucus? Do you want to be in a minority caucus?" I was like, "Well, I want to be where the black people are," right? I was like, "I want to be in a minority caucus." And at the time, interestingly enough, the Republicans were in the minority. And so there are folks who thought that I was a Republican. Really? Yes, because they were like, "Well, he wants to be in a minority caucus." I was like,
"Oh, no, I see what you were thinking."
I didn't know. I just wanted to be with my black folk, right?
Yeah.
And then I met somebody, like, they started looking at my Facebook, because Facebook was still big back then. They're like, he a Democrat.
There's a shifty over here.
And then literally I remember, because at that time the Republicans were in the House in the minority. They won back the House, and then the Democrats got into the minority going into 2011. So they put me in the House caucus. And the rest is history. I worked for 5 members.
Awesome.
Learned a lot about the legislative process. And when I stepped foot into the building, I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, or at least for a portion of my life, to serve in this policy realm. So here I am.
Well, quick little sidebar. What is a caucus? I know one thing that I love about you as a politician and as a cousin, you like to educate. So can you inform the people what a caucus is?
Yeah, so a caucus is really a collection of members who identify in one particular perspective. So you have a Democratic caucus, you have a Republican caucus, you can have a future caucus, for example, that's made up of young people. We have the Ohio Legislative Black Caucus that's made up of all of our Black members. Gotcha. Right? You have the LGBTQA caucus, you have the Jewish caucus. And so Caucuses are really just collections of members that
Mhm.
are working together with this commonality of some kind.
I like that.
You have a caucus that I built called a Civility Caucus, where we're
Mm,
working to bridge the divide between Democrats and Republicans to put together bills that are bipartisan.
I
And
love
so,
that.
these are the types of things that we have to help stir conversation, build relationships, and then ultimately pass some laws.
I like that. And I like the intentionality behind, no matter what party you're in, if we have an issue as a country,
100%.
let's try to figure this the best solution going
Absolutely.
forward. So,
Absolutely.
um, is that program, the legislation fellowship, is that still going
Oh,
on?
100%. I
Is it?
mean, I've had members, LSC fellows come through my office as interns or as fellows,
Hmm.
because it used to be called the Legislative Service Commission internship. That's for
Mm.
the old folk, OGs, right? So when you talk to folks like, I was an intern, okay, okay, I was a fellow,
I'm a
okay,
fellow.
just it's fine. But every year they put out the application,
Hmm.
and then the deadline sometime in spring, and I'm always trying to educate, particularly people across disadvantaged communities and
Hmm.
just minority communities to apply because we that state house should look like the people it
I
represents.
agree.
And so I want folks from every single walk of life
Hmm.
to get the experience, if they so choose,
Hmm.
to get into public policy at the state level, and so they can apply and hopefully can work in my office.
Yeah, man. I encourage people to take a field trip down to the state
Oh
house because it's
man.
beautiful, man.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
I that's one of the biggest, and I know we'll get into like what I do on the
Hmm.
day to day, but one of the most beautiful things about my career is I get to bring young people to the state house, and I'm always asking them, okay, I actually bring them into the house chamber. So by rule, you can't come into the house chamber on the floor unless you're brought in by a member.
Gotcha.
And so when I do tours, I always bring young people into the on the house
That's
floor,
awesome.
and then I tell them sit in the seats,
Hmm.
right? Feel how comfy they are, because they
I'm
comfy.
sure they
They
are.
have some comfy seats, y'all. Comfy seats. But I say, okay, now you're a legislator.
Hmm.
What's one policy that you would like to see change? And so kids will raise their hand saying, I would love to have dessert every day, right?
Yeah.
Right. I want to, and then you got good, kids that are a lot more serious. Say, I want to address gun violence.
Hmm.
I want to address why my mom is not coming into the home every day,
Hmm.
or she's working 2 or 3 jobs, and
Hmm.
I want to make just have her spend more time with her.
Hmm.
I want a house where I'm not going house to house. Like
Hmm.
these kids are living the experiences
They are.
of the consequence rather of policies,
Hmm.
and I just sometimes I sit there and I'm like, man, I can't wait for you all to be in this place to
Hmm.
serve as policy leaders, as electeds yourself, because your lived experience is shaping your worldview of what we should be doing differently for the state of Ohio and really for the nation.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And I always say, man, these new age kids, they are very smart.
oh, there's something else.
Very, because the technology that they're being brought up in, like it's just
Ooh
so
wee.
intuitive to them. And
Yeah,
access to information, social media,
absolutely.
all those things out there. I can't wait to see, my 5-year-old daughter when she's 16 or even 10, she's
Right.
coming to the state house. Oh, daddy, I want to do this. Cousin Jarrell, you know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep. Yep.
Dontavius, I want
Yep.
you.
Yep.
But, so I love that about your intentionality about bringing younger people to the state house.
Absolutely.
And for them to see it, because life's all about
At
experiences at the end of the
100%.
day. So,
100%.
so you talk about the state house.
Yeah.
What is a state representative?
That's a great question. What I am not, let me tell you what I'm not. I'm
Okay.
not a congressional member.
Okay.
I don't go to Congress. That's not what I do.
Yeah.
That is Congresswoman Joyce Beatty. Maybe one day in my
One day,
life.
one day.
That's Congresswoman Joyce Beatty. That's Congressman Mike Carey. Those are the members that represent the Central Ohio area.
Hmm.
I think about the role I do in like three buckets.
Hmm.
The first bucket is passing laws, right? Introducing moving policy and ultimately trying to pass laws or enact a law.
Hmm.
And so it kind of goes down to like I'm just a bill sitting on Capitol Hill,
Hmm.
like that process of going into committee and then getting on the House floor and then taking it over to the Senate because we have a bicameral
Hmm.
legislature. So you have a House and you have a Senate,
Hmm.
and so passing laws is the first bucket. The second bucket is really about moving money.
Hmm.
And I know you're Frugal Freddy, aka
Hey,
so we'll talk
yes,
a lot about
yes.
money. And so we have two distinctive moments in the legislature where we invest a lot of funds back into our community. The first is our biannual budget.
Hmm.
And so that budget is really the biggest policy document that we pass in the Ohio legislature.
Hmm.
Billions and billions of dollars
Hmm.
get funneled through this budget, and it funds our agencies. It funds certain programs that the agencies then enact,
Hmm.
right? It gives powers to certain communities, and or it takes away powers in some
Mm-hmm.
cases from communities. Like there's so many things that the budget does,
Mm-hmm.
but ultimately we push out funds
Mm-hmm.
throughout our state.
Mm-hmm.
The second pot of funds is our capital budget.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we invest dollars in shovel ready projects. And so, this GA, for example, I was able to secure about $64 million for House District 1.
Mm-hmm.
And that money is used for schools or universities, used to put roofs on the Columbus Museum of Art,
Mm-hmm.
used to help with Sanctuary Night, which is an organization used to that's fighting every day to address human trafficking, right? And women who are, navigating prostitution and all
Mm-hmm.
these things, right? So we look at how can we invest in communities
Mm-hmm.
to hopefully ultimately invest back in people. And so those are the two kind of big pots of funds that we allocate and debate on.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third bucket, which I think is the most personal, is I'm a champion of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so constituents can call my office.
Mm-hmm.
They can ask me, hey, I'm having issues with homelessness, evictions, food insecurity. My lights are off.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a senior, and because there's a law, by the way, like you can't turn off power to a senior's home
Yeah.
during the wintertime,
Yeah.
right? So if that happens, they can call my office and we can help them get their lights back on
Mm-hmm.
or get their heat back on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like that is probably I guess you could say that the piece that connects us most to the community,
Mm-hmm.
because we get to on a day-to-day basis address issues that people feel like no one else is listening to them. And so those are the kind of the three buckets that make up what I do in the state
Mm-hmm.
house.
Mm-hmm.
But really, I every single day I walk into that building, I am fighting for people.
That's good.
That's it.
To be honest, I didn't know all that.
No, I do a lot.
And that's why you don't answer my
No,
calls.
listen,
Nah, I'm messing
listen,
with you.
listen.
I'm gonna start calling the office,
You
man.
should.
Nah,
Absolutely, you should. I got a whole team.
nah, I don't want no gatekeepers. I want to
No,
talk
you
to the
can
man.
talk to me all the time.
Nah, I'm messing with you. Nah, I love that
See,
you
this
broke
is
it down
yeah.
like that because you see these people, you see these politicians on TV,
Yeah.
all these titles, state rep, Congress, this, do that,
Yeah.
and I like how you broke it down. Like, hey, this is the three buckets of what I do.
Right.
And how I connect to the people, because we need people like you out there fighting
Yeah.
for the people. So,
Yeah.
can you speak a little bit about your district? I know it's House District 1.
I'm the best one, I like to say.
Of course you'll say that. But can you give a little bit more, like what the district is all about?
Yeah.
What's the makeup? What's the demographics?
Course,
And
of
what's some of
course.
the great things you guys are kind of pushing out?
Yeah, so my district was the first district created
Awesome.
in the redistricting process.
Mhm.
And so I represent all of downtown Columbus, so where
Mm.
we're sitting.
Mhm.
I represent all of Bexley, city of Bexley, Berwick, King Lincoln, Milo Grogan. Currently, I have all of the South Side.
Mhm.
Next General Assembly, which is happening in January, is when our new General Assembly starts. I will be losing part of the South Side, but picking up all of Wyland Park.
Oh
And I
wow.
also lose parts of all of German Village as well.
Mhm.
So I have German Village now.
Mhm.
I have Airport. I have Franklinton, Old Town East. I already said King Lincoln, Milo Grogan, Airport area, and really just and Linden up to 11th
Okay.
Avenue. And so it is an amazing district
It is
of so many brilliant neighborhoods.
very diverse.
Very, very diverse, socioeconomically and culturally.
Mhm.
It is what we call almost a 50-50 split in terms of minority
Mhm.
district. So we have about 49% people of color in the district,
Mhm.
but it is technically a majority minority district. So
Mhm.
I have more white folks who
Mhm.
live in my district.
Mhm.
And so so a lot of times I'm going to neighborhoods and I'm talking about tax abatements, or I'm talking about property taxes, or I go to another neighborhood, I'm talking about mental health, I'm talking about addiction, I'm talking about poverty, right? Like, or homelessness. And so the beautiful part of my job is, dependent upon a neighborhood I go into, there could be a whole set of unique issues for
Yeah,
that community
I can
that
imagine.
I have to navigate
Mhm.
around. And I work with my city and my federal officials and county officials to figure out how we can best serve people where they are.
Mm. So how long you been a state rep?
I've been a state rep now 4 years, going on 4 years.
Really?
Yes, I know time go by
That went by
fast.
fast.
Man, who you
It's
telling?
crazy. I was
Who you
going through
telling?
some old stuff that I
Mhm.
had packed up, and I came across like your first like mail
Lit
flight.
piece? Yeah.
Yeah,
Was that the one in 16 or the well, that was the one in
I think it was
20?
your first one.
Yeah, in 16, yeah. Woo!
No gray
Memories.
hair in that one.
No, I was
Yeah.
very young and a little bit bigger.
You silly. You wow, you wow. So
Nah,
4 years.
yeah.
In those 4 years, what has been your proudest moment?
In the legislature, I always say that the work I do in the legislature is about saving my mama.
Mm.
She worked multiple jobs to make ends meet. She was a temp, went through temp agency before she
Hmm.
got her union job, got her degree ultimately. But every day we walked out of my home in the
Hmm.
Huff neighborhood, I saw what this investment looked like in real time.
Hmm.
And so, in the Huff neighborhood, for folks who don't know, is a historic neighborhood in Cleveland. In the 1960s, it burned down because of race riots. And the truth is, there were parts of that community that never recovered
To this day,
to this day.
that's crazy.
And so, and I think that transformation is happening now under the administration of Bibb, and of course my good friend and colleague and first fam, Councilwoman Stephanie House.
Hmm.
But the truth is, there was a lot of blight. There was a lot of poverty. And
Hmm.
I saw that growing up. And so I think my finest moments in the legislature is addressing those issues that I know would have helped me
Hmm.
growing up.
Hmm.
So, case in point, I introduced legislation to raise the minimum wage.
Hmm.
I introduced legislation to address the benefit cliff. I've introduced actually about 40 pieces of legislation over my 2 terms, 8 of which have gone into law.
Mm.
And
Congrats, man. That's
thank
dope.
you,
That's
thank
dope.
you. And you say, hey, I'm in the minority,
Hmm.
cousin. Like like I don't have enough members in my caucus to pass a bill out of the House,
Hmm.
so I have to work with Republicans
Hmm.
in order to have that bipartisan relation to get those bills passed, because it
Hmm.
takes 51 votes
Mm.
in order to pass a bill out of the House, and then have to do the same thing over in the Senate where we have even less Democratic senators.
Hmm.
So I have to really work harder in the
Hmm.
Senate to work on relationship building to say these bills don't just impact my district, they impact yours as well.
Mm.
And so I am proud. I think the proudest moment is like every bill that I was able to get signed into law, whether it has my name on it or not, because
Hmm.
some bills get merged into other bills. Those are victories because I
Mm.
know it impacts people. Case in point, I have a bill. We are creating the first ever foster college scholarship in Ohio,
Wow.
right? There's foster youth who,
Mhm.
when they age out of the system and they're thinking of going to college, they have to find it on their own. There's no support really available to them
Yeah.
unless they have a benevolent family or
Hmm.
somebody who wants to help them.
Hmm.
They're on their own. And what if they have brothers and sisters? They have to decide whether to use funds that they saved up
Hmm.
for college or put food on the table for their brother or their sister.
Wow.
And so the Foster the College Scholarship Act, which we created, really is going to remedy that issue and give those supports to students who've been through some of the worst,
Yeah.
right? And so that's kind of a proud moment for me because that bill passed out of the House. It's in the Senate. We're working on getting it passed into law. And there is just so many other moments like that that I've been able to do. Like we invested $150 million into addressing lead abatement and prevention
Yeah.
strategies. And part of that was because I was using my story as a lead poison survivor,
Mhm.
right? So that folks understand that, yes, a lead poison survivor from the city of Cleveland can absolutely become the state legislator and fight on issues that impacted him growing up.
Yeah. No, that
So,
that that's amazing, man.
yeah, thank you.
And even in your tenure, I know the lead thing is very personal to you. I know we had a recent conversation
Hmm.
about my daughter. He's like, hey, check those lead levels in your house
Yes,
too.
have to,
And I
have
was like,
to.
I didn't even think about that.
Most folks don't,
Yeah.
brother.
So being an advocate for that, because oftentimes we're not thinking, like you said, we're not thinking about that.
No, not at
So
all. Until it's too late.
unfortunately,
Until
yes.
it's too late.
Yep.
Until you figure like, why is my daughter navigate? Why is she angry?
Yep.
What's going on? And then you find out like just had high levels of lead for a long time and it's
That's
impacted their
crazy.
cognitive abilities. And it's
Yeah.
like, and what I talk about, um, and why it's so personal, yes, being a survivor, but also talking with families you know, who may not have had the blessing I had in my life. I had a mom who quickly saw it
Hmm.
and took me to the doctor. Some families didn't know the signs.
True.
And then it was too late, and now their child is navigating in and out of the workforce,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily graduating from college or high school or dealing with the criminal justice system, all because of environmental injustices, nothing else.
Mm.
Environmental injustices. And
Mm-hmm.
so I know that the work that I'm doing is changing people's lives because every single bill I try to introduce is a difference of life and death for families.
That's real. That's
So
real. Have you had any challenges thus far?
lots. Man,
do,
brother, like
do you mind to share?
what is life without challenges, as
Life
they
is
say,
all
right?
cookies and cream,
It's all
man.
about challenges and perseverance.
Uh-huh.
No, you know what? I would say the hardest challenge being a legislator is knowing that I'm in the minority. There are,
In what regard?
I'm about to tell you, not minority as a black person,
Got you.
minority as there's not enough of us
Mhm.
in the House or the Senate
Mhm.
to pass even more meaningful bills that I
Mhm.
believe will make a difference in people's lives.
Mhm.
Case in point, evictions in
Mhm.
Ohio. For folks who do not know, if you have an eviction on your record, you cannot seal it away. It
Yes.
is there for the rest of your existence,
Yes.
right? Why is that bad? Well, when you have an eviction, you cannot get affordable housing
Mm.
unless you're in a program that's very targeted, which a
Mm.
lot of folks typically don't qualify for. You are in a position where ultimately you're paying higher levels of rent. Rent, in which unfortunately, in many cases, you can't afford,
Mm. That's real.
right? And so I worked on a bill to address resolving or removing eviction records after a certain number of years because some people make mistakes. Life happens,
I can see that.
healthcare had a healthcare blip, or you had to go to the emergency room, now you had to deal with that, and we had to make some choices that
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
hard,
Yeah.
right? You should not have that scarlet letter for the rest of your life
Yeah.
because of something that happened to you when you were 18 years old. And that bill continually does not move, brother,
Wonder why.
because there are people who don't believe that folks with eviction should have that removed. And there are more people who believe that than there are people who believe that they should be removed and sealed. And
Mm.
it should not be a scarlet letter
Yeah.
on that person's life.
It's crazy you say that. So people know I have a duplex.
Yes.
So when I put it out there, started like promoting it that it was available, a lot of people reached out. So one of the ladies that reached out, she had 2 evictions on her record.
Yep.
And I was willing to work with her.
Mm-hmm.
But it was some other things I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like the notion of it going away after a certain amount of time. Because that doesn't mean that she's a bad tenant.
Right.
Life happens.
Life happens.
Life happens.
Much like if you did a bankruptcy,
True.
right? Bankruptcy, similar situation. After 7 years,
Mm-hmm.
depending upon what chapter you file,
Mm-hmm.
they go away,
Yeah.
right? These are money
Yeah.
issues,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And I
And
can say greed too, because as a
greed,
landlord, like
right,
she could have afforded the rent. It's just like I said, it was other factors where I'm like,
right,
I don't think this is a good fit for her
right,
and me. So like as a landlord, I kind of see it more from an empathetic standpoint.
100%,
Like even my current tenant, like I'm willing to work with her because she's a great tenant. And she
absolutely,
don't have any evictions, but it's just one of those things where we have more empathetic people that are about capitalism. I think this
100%.
system would be a lot further,
I
So
agree with
I didn't
that.
mean to cut you off, but
No, no,
had to get
no,
that in there.
no. You listen. You listen. This is the Frugal Freddy, so you can control the strings here, brother. No, but you're right. I mean, I think I wish I had the opportunity to address like minimum wage. Like
Mhm.
I want to increase minimum wage. I know there's a big debate around it, but
Yeah,
if a family can only have to work one job to make ends meet,
yeah.
that means that family's more available to their family,
Family, yep.
right?
Yep.
That means that they're able to spend a little more on taking their family to dinner or paying for dental treatments or doing something for their family that's going to further advance them as a
Mhm.
unit.
Mhm.
But when they're struggling and making, having to do two, three, four jobs,
Mhm.
that's a sacrifice that impacts every single person in that house.
Yeah.
And so I'm really big on environmental and economic justice
Mhm.
because I know those are the two things
Yeah.
that if we solve them, families will prosper.
Because I think we all need that family experience.
100%.
Us growing up in Cleveland, I'm sure we grew up very similar.
Yeah.
Weren't rich.
Right.
Weren't terribly poor, But I do remember those moments of spending time with family.
Yes.
And if, parents are always working, how do you really have the time to go to the zoo or go to
100%.
Cosi or just go to the park?
Right. You
So
won't
I
have it.
love that. I love that. And this is a good segue into what I want to talk about is financial wellness programming.
Yes.
I know the state just passed, or maybe a couple of years ago, legislation around the credit hours for high school students
For
around
financial literacy.
financial literacy. Why do you think that's important?
Well, I mean, you're going to learn it one way or another.
Facts. Yeah, you're right about that. Either
I
bad
mean,
or good.
right, you're going to learn it one way or another. So
Yes.
I'd rather be preventative, looking upstream,
Yeah.
educating young people about credit, around what does it mean. Like, hey, you may not want to put that $1,000, car note on your credit card, right?
Yeah.
At a what 0.27% interest
Crazy.
rate, right?
Crazy.
Whatever it is,
Yep.
right? You may not want to take out more student loans than you're able to pay back, right? Knowing like how are you going to be like making sound financial decisions should be something that's embedded in a child at a very early age.
I agree. I would
Right?
say high school's too late.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think one, some of it's parent responsibility, but if your
I agree.
parent don't know how to, manage their home finances, then how do you expect the child to do that?
Yeah.
Right? But if the parents aren't teaching it, we do need to capture them somewhere.
I
So,
agree.
there's one program actually. I worked for our amazing Franklin County Treasurer's Office and Sherbrooke Sullivan, and we worked with Huntington to do these banking simulations. And so randomized where a child would get a salary. Well, you are a janitor, or you are a CEO, or you are a teacher, and you make this amount of money a year. You're gonna go to these different stations. You're gonna buy a house. You gotta now. So you bought the house. Now you don't know how much utilities cost for said house. So you're gonna go to another table, learn about the utility costs for that house. Now you got to think about groceries.
Yeah.
Well, here's groceries. Oh, by the way, you have 2 kids.
Oh, by the way.
So now you got to figure out childcare expenses.
Yeah, that's real.
And so as a kid, a middle schooler, right, a high schooler, we're doing these kind of like simulations in real time. Like, I don't have enough money to live.
That's real.
Like, well, what you gonna take off? Like,
Get another job.
Or get another job.
Yeah.
And then they're right back into the line. Like, I got to get another job because I can't make enough money. I don't make enough money. And it teaches them in real time, like, man, the choices that we are making could devastate us. And so making sound choices about your finances is just the right thing to do for your life. And so I think financial literacy and really embedding it in our young people is going to stave off consequences that they'll live through in their adult life.
And just imagine we had that coming up.
Man,
I might be a millionaire by this time.
Listen, I'm proud of myself because I am almost done paying off my credit card debt. Thank you, Jesus.
Early congratulations.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Yes.
And, thank you to Biden because I have no student loans now.
Praise
Thank
the
you.
Lord.
Praise the Lord. And so, like, I am seeing myself now at a place where I have more money to invest, more money to save, more money to put away for emergency funds. But it took me I'm 36.
Brother.
To figure all this out.
That's real.
And there are families and there are people. I wish a child, you don't have to be 36. You should be in your 20s and have financial wellness. Yeah. And I know a lot of young people who are now. But you're right. I wish we had it when we were younger.
And like for our kids,
much better.
It's on us. Unfortunately, we had to go through the fire 100%. For our, the generation behind us to get those lessons. Like even with my daughter, like she will be financially sound.
Absolutely.
She might have to go to Frugal Freddy boot camp.
Right.
But she gonna get it right. Like, her having a 529, her having, I have a investment account for just, stockpiling stocks or just stuff that's going to just pop in the future that I believe in.
Right.
And that's why I do the work that I do.
Absolutely.
And one thing that I realized, and something I'll let you guys know later, but I'm working on is this movement is bigger than Frugal Freddy.
Yeah.
It's like, how do me and a team help people, coach people, not advise people, but coach people, counsel people to get where they want to be financially.
Almost like a financial therapist.
That's what I'm going to be. Aspire Financial.
Mm,
Be on the lookout for that.
okay, I
So we're
like
gonna have to
that.
talk off camera
Yeah,
about
we're gonna
that.
talk. Can I say that one of the things that we're looking into is, and this is some bold progressive legislation,
Mhm.
may not pass in this composition of this General Assembly, but baby bonds
Mhm.
and really setting aside funds when a baby is born
Mhm.
that they cannot touch
Mhm.
until they're 18. And in some cases, it could be upwards of 36 to $40,000 by the time
It's pretty
it,
solid.
it matures, right? And if you and that investment, a small investment, will have a large impact on their life when they become an adult or transition into adulthood. And but it's a bold policy, and it's something that I think would make a difference for many families, particularly those who are on the margins, right? Who don't have a lot, who weren't born with a lot, right, of capital.
Mhm.
And so those are the types of bold ideas I'm thinking through because again, I want every family to thrive in this state and they deserve it.
I think that's dope. Let me know how I can help with that,
Oh,
because I
absolutely.
think about to that point. If you're thinking about from a financial therapist or counselor perspective, it just takes a little. It's
And,
nothing but habits.
that's it.
Like that's how
That's
you
it.
were able to pay down majority of your credit. It's
It's
habits.
habits,
You know,
intentionality, sacrifices.
mhm.
And in this case, for these baby bonds, it's like you don't even
$10.
know it
Yeah, yeah,
exists.
yeah,
It just is there.
yeah.
You can't really touch it. You know something in the back of your mind, but imagine turning 18, having a bill for college. You're going to the Ohio State University, and you're $2,000 short. And guess what? You got 36,000
Tap into that.
that you could tap into, or you want to start a business and you need some seed funding.
Hmm.
You could tap into it.
Hmm.
Or you're thinking about starting a family and you need some childcare
Hmm.
supports, or you want to put away some money for your own child.
Hmm.
Tap into it, right?
Yep.
That like that's revolutionary for
Yep.
families,
Yep.
and those are the type of economic justice ideas I think about because I know it will make a difference for people's lives.
Well, you got me fired up, man.
That's what we do,
Hey,
man.
hit your boy up.
Hey, listen, what we do. I got you.
But no, and I think to that point, it's the habits, it's the
Right,
intentionality.
right.
$10, $20 over time can grow.
Compounds.
Like even with Savannah's 529, it's $50 every month. I blow
Mm-hmm.
away $50. You
At
know what I mean?
100%.
Like, so I can
100%.
put that aside and it grows with the market.
It's
And by the time
beautiful.
she's 18, she can tap into, well, she ain't gonna really be tapping into it. It's
Right.
gonna go through me first. You know
Right.
what I mean? You get
100%.
what I'm saying?
100%.
So
Of
it's gonna
course.
allow her to be in a position of privilege, to be honest
Absolutely.
with you.
Absolutely. I'm gonna tell you another thing too. We don't do this anymore in school. I don't think. Maybe you do it in other school
Hmm.
districts, but when I was in the elementary school, Key Bank had a teller program,
Mm.
like in John D. Rockefeller for all folks from Cleveland. And I was one of the tellers. And so I would go and parents would give money to first, second, third, fourth, fifth graders, dollar, $3. And I would be the one taking the money and depositing it and giving them back a slip. Like,
was,
well, you put it, listen, it's like a
was it a
school.
job?
It was a volunteer school bank that
Ooh.
that essentially students at elementary school would literally say, "We're all going to the bank, and you're putting your money into a savings account."
Uh,
And I think I have a savings account somewhere in KeyBank something. I don't
it's
know,
probably got
but
thousands in there.
I gotta find it. I know I do. That's how I think of how I got paid. I got a little money on the side. But I say that to say, uh, I learned financial literacy by learning how to like put money in a savings account at an
Hmm.
early age.
Hmm.
And parents just gave them two or three, $4.
Hmm.
And those kids were like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to the bank to deposit my money." So those are the types of like things that we can build into our education system
I agree.
so that these young people like can just build positive habits
Hmm.
that will then again be positive patterns that they can use into adulthood.
No, that's
So
awesome. And I think another thing in that, I know we talked about personal finance. I
mm,
know one thing that I'm very passionate about is small businesses.
yes,
I guess you say, you didn't say radical, but you said very bold policy.
yes.
What are some things that you think could really take our small businesses to that next level?
I think investment. And I want to shout out Monica Womack, who is our chief minority business division
Hmm.
with the governor's office. And chief runs a number of low interest rate loans for businesses,
That's awesome.
particularly minority owned businesses, and micro loans,
Hmm.
right? For those micro businesses. And I think the interest rate, I don't want to misspeak, but it's very low.
Hmm. Hmm.
And uh, I just think we need to invest more. I think, in fact, I think the radical idea is for as many people of color as there are in Ohio, we should set aside that percentage in our general revenue fund for that people, right?
Yeah.
I just believe, because the truth is there's so much good that we can do if we have a little bit more capital
Yeah.
to invest in people.
Yeah.
And so for me, investment is key. Also, bureaucracy. My office receives a lot of calls from businesses who don't know how to navigate the system, right? Who are like, well, what paperwork do I have to do to get my liquor license? Or what paperwork do I have to do to get this license? Or case in point, I have a friend of mine who had a very innovative business that was coming online in Ohio, and the administrative code, didn't catch up to the business. Right? And so she was like, I had to get both of these. And she was working with the Food and Drug Division of our state. I had to get both this license and this license. And if I get this license, I have to take these things off my device. If I get this license, I can't do this. It's like, no, I'm going to call and we're going to sort this out.
Yeah.
And through my office, we were able to say, no, one license, you're good for the other. You don't have to take anything off your product.
Yeah.
As a small business, that matters to people.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, removing red tape and letting innovation lead Ohio, right? And let business really thrive in the state by just getting out the way.
Yeah.
And so I think those are the types of bold ideas I want to see.
I love that.
Like obviously there's going to be, I don't want anyone to get sick. Right. I don't want anyone to get abused. Right. And I want client satisfaction as high as it can possibly be.
Human-centric things like
100%.
Yeah.
But otherwise, let's innovate.
Yep.
Let's take the, I don't want to say shackles, but let's take the shackles off of policies that stifle innovation. And I believe that we can do that with the right attitude, the right vision, right philosophy about what possible in business.
Love that.
So
I'm gonna hit you up about Aspire Financial. That's what's gonna be called.
Let's go.
It's a little tidbit.
I like the financial therapist. I really think you should coin that.
I got some content coming.
You should coin financial therapy. Like I think
it's already coined, but I got some things up the pipeline for 2025.
Cool. Let me know. I want to invest. I need something to invest in.
Or you may be a client.
Okay, I can be a client too. I don't mind that. I just need the free price.
Well, you just said you paid off your credit card, so you got free money, and that is on camera.
I did. I am paying off my credit card. That's
awesome. But no, in all seriousness, that's awesome because credit card debt can definitely be stifling. I definitely is dealing with credit card debt.
Yeah, listen, I track your journey.
Yeah. This whole duplex thing, I can't wait to talk about that even more. So,
really?
But yeah, man. But it goes back to being in the position to save, being in a position to have a good paying job that allowed me to save for the down payment.
Absolutely.
And also the knowledge and the bravery to do it. Because it wasn't a small feat, and it's something I'm very proud about.
Absolutely.
So that's
why
I
I'm
talk
proud
about
of you,
a lot.
cousin. I really am.
But definitely a lot of life lessons in that.
Oh, I bet. But you're leaving something behind for your daughter.
Yeah.
And any other kids you get. Or have.
We'll see about that.
I said get. I said I
want another one. Yeah. But in closing, man, like I enjoyed this conversation. This is very different for dollars and cents, but I wanted to really, bring a different perspective politically.
Absolutely. 100%.
It's not you trying to push, hey, vote for me, but definitely vote.
Please vote.
But it's bringing the human side of a politician.
100%.
And I know that's something you really are wanting to do in the future, so I'm trying to put you on the spot. Accountability.
Well, let me say this too, cousin. I think what I do in the State House impacts your pocketbook.
Facts.
Right? And you should know what is the philosophy of members when it comes to financial wellness. What is the philosophy of members when it comes to small business development? What does it mean to remove red tape? Like, you should ask these questions of your electeds, because I'm voting on bills every single time we're in a session that impact your dollar, that impact your pocket. And I think it matters that we have these types of conversations so that it's a two-way system, right? It's not just me telling you what I believe, but it's also the people, whether it's Ohioans or constituents in my district, whatever, right, coming to me and telling me what they want, right, from a financial sense, so that we can work together to build a type of Ohio that we all deserve.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What is something you want to leave with the people?
Man, I love y'all.
Yeah.
I love you every single day. I'm in the State House. I am fighting for people because I believe in us. And I always use this quote, and if you heard it, you just know me. It's from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. when he says, to serve, You only need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. If you love something enough, you're willing to fight for it.
Real.
And I am committed to people in that way, and knowing that everything I do is going to make a real difference in people's lives. And if I don't know, we all don't know how much time we have
That's
on this
real.
earth, but my legacy hopefully will be, what I hope my legacy will be, is I showed up for people in an authentic, real way,
Real.
and it made a difference. So
And you're making a difference.
I know I am.
Cousin.
I know I am, cuz. I know. And we ain't done. We
That's
just
real.
started. We
That's
just starting, y'all.
That's real. That's real. Well, thank you. Thanks for coming to the
Thank you.
show.
Appreciate you.
This won't be the last time you see us on camera.
Well, listen, this whole financial therapy thing, I like it. Let's talk about it.
Yes. That's it, y'all. See you.
Peace.